AEW Double or Nothing is behind us, and we're looking forward to Forbidden Door. But before we get there, this is the fallout from AEW's 5th anniversary for Double or Nothing at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. But before we get into this, I'm Rob, the wrestling old head. You are in the portal of pro wrestling, the wrestling portal, and we are here to talk about everything pro wrestling, a community safe space where you can enjoy wrestling as much as I've enjoyed it, for as long as I've enjoyed it, and beyond. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let's grow this community, which is now expanding to Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. That's right. We are ever evolving, ever expanding, and all of those links are going to be available in the description. Now, let's get to the show. I am going to go down every match and give you my opinion on it. And the first being for the AEW International Championship. Roderick Strong puts his title on the line against Will Ospreay. Now, the result of this match was never in question. We all knew deep down that Will Ospreay was going to win this match. In fact, some of us believed he had to win this match. Now, I will go back and forth and say Roderick Strong had every right to retain this title, and Will Ospreay still would have been a contender for the World Heavyweight title, which is, I believe, his character arc at this point is to get to the top of AEW and be the world champion. He is a star. He is not an opening match guy. I am an old school wrestling fan, and I've always believed that the top guy in the company should not be the curtain jerker or should not be opening up the show. He is a main event guy. He is the top guy in the company, hands down. They're paying him top guy money. He's got a big buzz. All of the AEW fan faithful are behind him. So instead of having him in the opening match with a mid-card title, with all respect given for the AEW International title, but it is just that at this point forward, it is a mid-card title. He should be working his way up the ladder and, eventually winning the King of the Owen Hart Cup and vying for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But alas, we are here, and it was Will Ospreay that took the win. I thought it was a great match. Will Ospreay can do these matches in his sleep. I did think there was a scary spot, a doomsday device that Matt Taven and Mike Bennett were attempting to perform, and Will Ospreay ended up landing on his head, in the back of his head and his neck, and it's pretty scary. I don't know if you should be risking those types of stunts on Will Ospreay in these types of matches. The match would have been fine without that spot, and you wouldn't have risked the future of the star that you were putting all of your chips in with Will Ospreay. Just my opinion. But other than that, it was a good showing. I would have expected a little bit more of a fallout between the Undisputed Kingdom, but then we got Adam Cole, who came out alone. No reprimanding Wardlow, no coaching or nursing back to health Roderick Strong. It was very weird. He comes out, he cuts a promo, looks good. Glad to see him back, and seeing him out in the ring, it got me thinking, like, so many AEW stars were on the injured list. I mean, think about it. You've got Jamie Hayter. You've got, well, I guess Wardlow was hurt for a while. You had Adam Cole. You had Maxwell Jacob Friedman, Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin. Hangman Adam Page has disappeared. Mercedes Moné was apparently cleared or not cleared. I still wasn't sure about that. I mean, just so many big stars that AEW needed. And I guess the shuffling around was really, like, I mean, they had to do a lot of last minute shifting because a lot of their guys just were not cleared, were not ready to compete. So it was interesting when I saw Adam Cole walk out down the ramp and into the ring looking good and looking cleared. It gave me hopeful for what may come. And then here comes, with a video package return and all, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He comes out. He's Motorcycle Max. He's looking like Mad Max. He's looking like the Wolverine of pro wrestling. And, I mean, there's a lot of likeliness with his jacket, the leather and the jean, like kind of like fusion that it was very similar to Triple H's return in 2002. And it was really cool to see him come back. It was nice to see him back in the ring. He basically gave us 6 months worth of storyline progression, and he closed the books on all of them. The free agent, the war for 2004 of trying to see who he was going to sign with. Well, he tatted AEW on his ankle, and pretty much said, I'm AEW for life. So that closed the chapter on that storyline. And then he gave Adam Cole a brainbuster and said, I'm done with you. This is over. And pretty much moved along with that storyline as well. So in the span of, I don't know, a 10-minute, 15-minute promo that felt like longer, but I'm being generous here, he closed the chapter on those programs and he's moving on to something else. What that something else is going to be, only time can tell, but he looks great. Looks like a lot of the rumors of him going in for that shoulder surgery was just to throw the sniff off of the fans, hoping that they would see him soon. And there's a lot of historical significance with Double or Nothing and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So it was nice to see him come back at this pay-per-view. I'm sure the analytical master himself, Tony Khan, knew about that and was plugging that in and having that become a part of the history of AEW. Very well done segment. Jay White and the Guns, the Bang Bang Gang, against the Death Triangle, Pac, Penta, El Zero Miedo, Pentagon Jr., and Rey Fenix. This was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was a perfectly acceptable wrestling is what I would call it. To quote a phrase from Scott Keith, for those in the know who Scott Keith is. I'm not sure if he's still doing wrestling results and play-by-play and commentary and all that stuff, but I remember looking at Scott Keith and reading his articles and his star ratings, and he would call certain matches perfectly acceptable wrestling. So for those who know, Scott Keith, this is a Scott Keith perfectly acceptable wrestling match to me. It did everything that it was supposed to do. It was well serviced. The ending was not in question, but it was still good nonetheless. And like I said about Pac is one of those guys that always loses the big matches and only wins the ones that are, really not of significance. That needs to change though, because the guy's a workhorse and does really well. He should be getting his flowers. Let's give Pac his flowers. Toni Storm against Serena Deeb. Another match, not in question, but they gave it a lot of time. And I thought this, out of all of the matches, deserved that time. Serena Deeb I was almost going to say the excellence of execution in the women's division. And I think I'm going to stick with that because she is technically sound. She is a great professional wrestler and probably one of the best female wrestlers on that roster when it comes from going bell to bell and just making it look seamless. Toni Storm is in her groove right now. She is a time capsule from everything from the swimsuit to the hairstyle, just the visage, and her in-ring, maneuvering, her execution as well is stellar stuff. And these two really worked well together, and I thought it was a good match. Also noticing that Mariah May was going to throw in the towel, and then Luther, the Butler or whatever he is, stopping her, and then Toni Storm catching Butler with the towel telegraphs very clearly that either Jamie Hayter is not prepared to return and they're going with Mariah May, or when Jamie Hayter returns, they don't have that in the cards for her to be at Wembley. I've heard a lot of people say that Jamie Hayter returning and going against Toni Storm this soon, even though Toni Storm was the one that beat Jamie Hayter for the title, would kind of be like a hot-shotting thing. I understand the argument. I get the point. But I still believe, and I stand firm on this, no matter how attractive she is, Mariah May it's too soon to be giving her the opportunity to be on top of the women's division. TBS title, you will hear no argument from me aside from her beating Mercedes Moné, which I don't believe that they should do. I will not argue her getting the TBS title, but I will argue with her getting the world title because I just think it's too soon. That is my opinion. Moving on. Orange Cassidy against Trent Beretta. Respectfully, this match should not have been on this event. It should have been on the 0 hour or maybe the final Dynamite leading up to Double or Nothing. I just felt like the match, unless they were going to have Trent Beretta win and Don Callis sign Trent Beretta to his family, it just shouldn't have been in this pay-per-view, in my opinion. I understand what they're trying to do, but Trent Beretta now has 2 singles losses to Orange Cassidy, and there is no coming back from that. The feud he's won 2-0. Tag team, you can put that in there, so he has a win in the tag match, but he didn't even get the pin. It was Roderick Strong who pinned Orange Cassidy, if I'm not mistaken. So going into that, I'm going to say perfectly acceptable wrestling as well. But I wasn't into the fact that Trent Beretta didn't get the win here, and I don't really know what they're going to have planned for him, or what do they got planned for him in the future, because there's really not much, to be honest with you. Chris Jericho, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook for the FTW Championship. Another match where just I wasn't into it, really. I mean, I'll be honest. Katsuyori Shibata, everybody and their mother knew that he was in there to take the pin, because the chapter between Hook and Chris Jericho is not ready to be closed. Taking a cue from this match, they should have used a similar terminology. They should have used a similar technique to the Orange Cassidy Trent Beretta match. If they're not ready to close that chapter, maybe they should have given Trent Beretta the win. Just saying. Chris Jericho gets the win here. There was a bag full of dye that was thrown in the ring, dice, dye, whatever. And Chris Jericho pins Katsuyori Shibata. And Hook is now looking to have that one-on-one singles match where he can get his revenge. Jon Moxley against Kenoshika Takeshita. Jon Moxley was Pillmanized Saturday, had his arm stuffed in between a chair, and Takeshita came off the top rope and smashed the chair between his arm, and yet he still won. I don't know what they were doing with this. To me, and I've said this on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, Konosuke Takeshita should be the Chong Li of the AEW, which is a blood sport reference, not Chun Li from Street Fighter, but Chong Li from Bloodsport. There is no denying his skill. He should have been more dominant. He should be on a winning streak similar to Will Ospreay. And putting a DDT wrestler in an NJPW World Title Eliminator match, I just felt was not well done, because DDT and New Japan Pro Wrestling are not working together. I don't know if they have a good agreement with one another. So the question of putting him in that match, knowing that he was never going to challenge for that title, knowing that he needed to get more television time and needed to get more wins under his belt to establish him as a dominant threat, as young as he is and as talented as he is, I just didn't feel like it was well done. All the props in the world to Moxley, though. Not going to discredit his championship run with the NJPW Championship, or the IWGP Championship, rather. But I really felt like we should have seen Konosuke Takeshita in either an opportunity to climb higher up the ranks, or at least in a situation where he could have got the win. Adam Copeland against Malachi Black, barbed wire cage match for the TNT title. Gangrel showed up. It was everything that we thought it was going to be. Crash TV all around. Story was interesting. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, thinking Brody King and Buddy Matthews were going to turn on Malachi and join Adam Copeland. Thought maybe we would have gotten a new Judgment Day in AEW, but they had me fooled, because then Brody King gave Adam Copeland an amazing lariat clothesline, and Gangrel showed up, and then Adam Copeland still gets the win. Pretty entertaining match. Could have done without Adam Copeland pulling a Randy Savage where he flies off the top of the cage, it looked like he was trying to go for a coup de grace or something, smashing Malachi Black through the table, but he ended up landing on his legs. He could have shattered his legs like Jim Cornette did coming off the scaffold in that scaffold match back in the 80s. If you know, you know. But it was pretty dangerous. He did walk away limping. Hopefully he was just doing a good job of selling, and he's not too hurt. 50-year-old guy, man. So, but Adam Copeland, he's going out on his own terms. Very interesting match. Willow Nightingale against Mercedes Moné. Now, going into this match, I had planned in my head thinking that Mercedes Moné was going to introduce a heavy, whether it be Chris Statlander turning on Willow Nightingale or Camille debuting and helping Mercedes Moné win. But they actually went for a clean finish in the match. I thought it was a well done match, and Then Chris Statlander turned on Willow Nightingale following the match, which I don't know, I would have maybe saved that for Dynamite to give people something to talk about. There was a lot of episodic storytelling in this pay-per-view, and with the amount of matches they had, I understand why they would do that to keep interest and to progress storylines, but at the same time, there was a lot of that stuff that I would rather see on AEW Dynamite or even Collision rather than the pay per view. Pay per view still went long. It was about as long as the Lord of the Rings trilogies combined. Okay, it was very long, but I guess it got the point across. I don't know, but it was interesting. So Mercedes Moné wins. She's a TBS champion, and no Camille, and Chris Statlander turns on Willow after the match. Not something I expected or saw coming. Swerve Strickland against Christian Cage for the AEW World Heavyweight title. Swerve gets the win. The match, I mean, it was a long match. I think it was like 25-minute match. Another match where the ending was not in question. I don't know. I think Swerve should have ended the show. He's the world champion. He should have been the main event. I know they tried to get around that by saying it was a triple main event and whatnot, and I understand why they were doing that. But at the end of the day, it was the runner-up to the main event, and I know Anarchy in the Arena was so chaotic, and how do you follow that? But you should have ended the show with your world champion. I'm old school. I'm the wrestling old head, so I always feel like that is what you should be doing with your company. Is your champion should be the main event. That's what everybody is there to see, and he should have been there to main event. Didn't happen. Swerve gets the win. I'd be interested to see where he goes from here and what they have lined up for him. Hopefully his title reign is not something similar to Hangman Adam Page, who should be coming back and maybe reigniting that program. I would be interested to see that. In the Anarchy in the Arena match, the Young Bucks, Kazuchika Okada and Jack Perry face FTR, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, Darby Allin, and Bryan Danielson. This match was all over the place. It was crazy at times. It was hard to watch at times. They threw the kitchen sink at this match. It was a complete brawl all over the building, blood, guts, flamethrowers. Tony Khan got rolled down the ramp. It was insane. And at the end of the day, the Elite win. I thought Hangman Adam Page would have been returning. A guy in the comments had mentioned that, and I got stoked about it because I thought that would be a lot better than Tony Khan turning on AEW and joining the Elite. And apparently that did not happen. And we just got a Jack Perry pinfall over Bryan Danielson, and now the Elite are on top. What's going to happen with them and how are they going to progress? I would be interested to seeing what's going down with that. So overall, it was a pretty good show. I mean, a lot to talk about following the event. There's a lot of things in question, a lot of interesting returns. Oh, I forgot to mention that Juice Robinson did return. Bang Bang Gang got Juice Robinson back. I totally forgot to bring that up, but I'm doing this live, no edits or anything. And Juice Robinson, who in my opinion reminds me so much of Brian Pillman, the loose cannon of AEW. Him returning does so much for the Bang Bang Gang, and hopefully it gives Jay White a chance to get some singles wins over his belt. I wouldn't put him against Swerve right away. I would be building him up to being more of a viable challenger. That's my opinion, though. But it was nice to see him back. So a lot of returns. Adam Cole, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and Juice Robinson all getting returns here. Nice to see them back and a lot of pieces to plug into. I'm excited to see what's going to happen going forward. Looking forward to Dynamite. You guys let me know what you think. What was your match of the night? Was this a good show? Was it too long? Do you think it wasn't too long? Do you think it should have been longer? But 5.5 hours or whatever it was just excruciatingly long, even for the great show that it was. Maybe cut that a little bit, just in my opinion, but really long. I was tired. However, good show overall. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks again for all my new subscribers, all my OG subscribers. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Pass the word. Let's grow this wrestling community safe space, and let's make it something that everybody can come in and talk about wrestling. Historians, wrestling fans, everybody alike. Let's grow this together. Rob, the wrestling old head. Stay tuned, everybody. Have a good night.